In this video, I'm going to talk about shapes and color and a little bit of text a little more broadly rather than how it pertains to my specific book cover that I'm making. So let's just get into it. So shapes can be used in a whole bunch of versatile ways. I think the first and most basic way to use a shape is to just color parts of your page. You can color the whole page, and note that I'm on my red text layer. It doesn't have to, it's not important. So we can color the whole page this way, and we can fill it in using one of these color swatches. I think it's nice to try finding your own colors with, not limiting yourself to just these swatches. And to do that, we can, if you wanted to go into making another color, you could go here and then just, choose from here and, move around the color frame. Anyway, you can color different parts, you can color parts of the page different colors, by layering these color blocks. So these are some basic ways that you can use shapes. You can also use shapes to build other shapes. Here's the ellipse tool. I can use the ellipse tool to make, let's say, this circle, and then I can make another circle. Maybe, and let's fill that one in yellow as well. And now I think I want to try making, I'm hitting V, that will get me my arrow tool, so now I can resize this. And I think I want to, now I'm going to select both of these shapes, which will pop up give me the option to use Pathfinder if you scroll down and find it, and that lets me build this shape. And if I wanted to, I can even add I can use the pen tool to add a little beak to make my duck look really more like a duck. Now, if I go to my swatches, I see that there isn't an orange option, so I'm going to go to color and just try to find one that I like. And I can, once I have a color to start with, I can also move these sliders around to help me find one that I like. This is a color that I like, so I'm going to hit enter, and now I have my beak. I could also use the pen tool to make lines. You don't always have to close your shapes. Let's say I wanted to give this guy a little feather. I'm holding down Option to move my anchor point. And now I just have a line. So instead of filling this, because I don't really want to fill it, I'm going to get a stroke. I want the stroke to be yellow, but notice that this is the same color on top. So instead of doing the same yellow, to make it noticeable, I need to take the tint down or do something else. Look, now we can see this V will get us our arrow tool. Now we can move this around. I can rotate it. And these are just a few things that you can try, few ways that you can use shapes and color to add some, interest to your page. You don't need to get very complicated with this stuff, but it is something that I wanted to point out. I also want to talk about how you can use tints for the color, and also how you can get your original color on your own. So in these videos, you're seeing how I'm using just black and different tints of black to get to white and gray to create contrast. We can do that with colors as well. So let's say we start with a color, we have green. Then we can tint this color to get different variations. And so what you're going to do is you're going to have one color and then use tints of that color to create the contrast. Now, instead of using tints, another option is to go into the color picker, which you can do by double clicking it. And now we can hit brightness, and instead of tinting it, we can just find a lighter green. And we can hit OK, and it will change to that color. Now, this color doesn't have a swatch over here, so it's not going to give us the option of tinting it. So that's something to consider. Now, I want to talk about how you can apply these ideas to maybe rotating text as well. And another thing I want to point out when it comes to these shapes, you can also, so what I'm just scrolling over all of them to select all of it. You can rotate it like this. This will give you 45-degree increments of, or 90-degree increments. Thank you for correcting me in design. This gives you 90-degree increments of rotation. You can also flip it horizontally, and you can flip it vertically. Well, this is vertical, this is horizontal, so these are all things that you can do. And you can apply all of these things, these ideas, to your text as well. So I'm going to drag out a text box, and I'm going to type out the complete works of, and I want this to be nice and big. I'm not really caring about what the font is because I'm not really going to do anything with this afterwards. And I just, what I did there was I duplicated that by holding down Option, and now I'm going to write Sherlock Holmes. And I'm going to make this even bigger, and let's, there we go. Now what I want to do is rotate this so that way they are opposites of each other, or like on a hinge with each other. If I hit the letter W, I'm going to get preview mode. Okay, so now I have Sherlock Holmes and the complete works, and they're kind of in like opposition of each other. And something that I think is kind of interesting is you can now rotate this, and they still look pretty unified because they're rotated on the same axis. So those are the kind of things that, you know, are worth experimenting with when it comes to your design. And you can select more than one thing by clicking it and then holding down Shift and then clicking something else. So that will help you if you want to select more than one thing at a time. The last thing I want to talk about is how you can use your particular color over and over again in InDesign to help you out. So in a previous video, I had picked that yellow color that I really liked, that I wanted to use, that I considered using for my book, but I did not write it down. And that's a shame because I totally lost it, and now I don't have access to that color again. And if you were trying to find colors in your Adobe Color, on the Adobe Color website or anything like that, I would definitely recommend you writing stuff down so you don't lose it. But I just want to show you how you can add that to your swatches here, and that can make it easier to keep track of as well. So I'm now on the underneath layer because I want my shape to be underneath my text. And so I'm gonna click on this. I don't want to use any of these swatches. This is a swatch that I made, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So what we do is we go to, you can double click over there. And now if you have your hex code written down, you can write in a new hex code. You can write your hex code in there, or if you were like me and you forgot to write it down, you can now just like go around and search in the color picker for a new color. That's not bad. I'm gonna change to green so that way I get more yellows. The landscape book is a sci-fi book where a character gets a little bit sick, so I think a yellow-green is going to be pretty good. And then, I'm going to write down this hex code so I can use it again if I forget it. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this RGB swatch and hit OK to my swatches. So now it shows up alongside my other swatches, and that's a really convenient thing. You can even drag this to the top so that way it's the first thing that shows up since you're working on this project. And note that this isn't going to show up in your swatches from now until the end of time. It just is going to show up in this one file. So now when you open this file, this color swatch will be a part of your swatches. It's not going to be a part of all of your swatches for every other document. So those are some things that I wanted to talk about for ways you can use color and shapes in InDesign. One other thing that I want to point out actually while we're here is you can use tints pretty conveniently with this color. Now that you have this color in InDesign, saved in your swatches, we can try some pretty neat tricks. I'm going to duplicate this shape just by dragging it, holding down Option so you get that second arrow, and then we can select all of these. Let's just fix this one so that way it's the right space. Now we can select all of these, hit Option to get duplicate. I'm going to just drag them out. And this is kind of an addendum onto how to use that swatch. Now that you have the swatch, we can tint the different things to get some variation. So right now, instead of having one big color block, I have 6 strips. So now I'm going to hit this one, and I'm going to make like a color value scale here by going down in 15 tints of 15 increments. So let's see, the next thing should be 70. Then after 70, we should get to 55. Now my math is not great, so I can't guarantee that I'll be really getting this accurately, but I think the next thing would be 30, and the next thing would be 15. I think that this is actually 40. So let's do that, because that looked like a really stark difference. Then this should be 25. There we go. And if we hit W, we can get out of preview. We can get into preview mode. And now I've created this like neat little value scale. Instead of just one big block, I have this whole scale of colors, and this would look just as good in black and white. The idea here is that you can, the color adds meaning to it, but the design is strong because of the contrast. Okay, so those are now for real this time. Those are some things that I want you to think about and things that you can do in InDesign with color and shapes.